And we're back with On the Record with Tiffany and Kevin on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. All right, so in the section here, we were talking about this, right? Is this boring? Are we getting too far in the weeds? I don't think we're getting too far in the weeds because we're supporting the claim.
It's
right?
something that people need to know this, because that's how we end up. There's an industry term that the kidney professionals use. It's called crashing into kidney disease. And that's how people, and what it means is that a person shows up at their doctor's office or at the hospital, and they're actually going into renal failure. And they've never been diagnosed, been told anything about their kidneys, and they're going into renal failure.
So let's talk about this, right? Because this is a very maddening topic to me. As the more I read, the more you read the actual research, right? It's very maddening to me.
Oh, it is, because
right?
it's all there in writing.
It's there in the blood work. So
everybody's butt is covered.
Yeah. So Tiff and I just made the decision that we believe in free markets, right? Mm-hmm. And you come in as a patient, you come in in a monopoly, right? Because they have knowledge and information that you don't have, right? The research bears out that the majority of people do not know about chronic kidney disease. Those who have diabetes and high blood pressure are not aware that they could go into chronic kidney disease. They simply aren't aware of it, right? And at a minimum, if you have those two things, one of those two things, you should be screened at least once a year, right? And I always tell doctors, right, when we sit on these different conference calls, especially the haughty ones, is that explain it to me in Crayolas. Draw me pictures and explain to me. I only want to know this one thing. What percentage is my kidneys function at? What percentage? I don't care about your number and all that other stuff. Tell me what the percentage is of my kidney function and tell me how much damage they have. And then I can go from there, right? So that's one. Two, we come at a disadvantage, especially as Black and brown people and uninformed people, at a knowledge deficit of the therapeutics that they're available. Tiffany mentioned this drug. It's called SGLT2 inhibitor.
It's a family of drugs.
It's a family of drugs.
The two of the names that you would know that are brand names are Jardiance and Farxiga. And
they are proven to be effective in most people. They are actually for people who have diabetes.
And they're actually helping, showing improvement in heart disease, in cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and it's the mechanisms that it uses. It's very different, and it's been so successful, wildly successful with
diabetic patients.
With diabetic patients and with non-diabetic patients.
But that prescription, though, Tiffany, is one, the rate at which it's being prescribed is extremely low. Two, the rate at which it's getting out to our people, right, is even lower. Yeah. It's a shame, right? And then everyone is talking at a national level about what needs to be done. What needs to be done is that the consumer of healthcare, in order for the free market to really operate properly, has to be informed about that decision. And the thing that I've been telling people is that if your doctor says we are not going to give you that medication, they need to give you the medical reason why, and not generals. General. Let me finish on this, because this is a sticking point for me. Is you need to be told why you do not medically qualify for that medication, because some of the reasons that are out there are BS, to be honest with you. Right? And I tell you, you will get extremely upset when you find out that the person who could have there's a medication that could have prevented your loved one from going into end-stage renal disease, but there was a gatekeeper that prevented that, and they couldn't give a medical reason. They don't have a medical reason, right? That is infuriating. It will make you madder than mad.
You know, something else that should be, that we have to say here too, is that in those first two stages of kidney disease, one of the things that is in the body of knowledge, that's the peer-reviewed papers.
These are go ahead. This is the research on NIDDK.
A concept that keeps going that you keep seeing over and over again is that instead of giving numbers, instead of your doctor telling you the numbers, here, this is your kidney function, this is the number, this is the rate at which your kidney is functioning. You have 20% kidney function. You have 80% kidney function. Instead of that, they're just saying, you're okay, you're good, everything looks fine. You have to, as the consumer, you have to ask, what does fine mean? Tell me the exact number. Because what you're going to find is that the reason why they're saying everything is fine is because of that diagnosis we mentioned earlier in the podcast. They're saying everything is fine because the guidelines say they can tell you everything is fine until stage 3.
But it's infuriating. So
yeah, and it's super important that you realize that when somebody says everything is fine, humor me. Tell me the number. Great. Tell me the number.
And so we have decided to be comfortable with making people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because right now the current strategy is that's simply.
Because guess what? There's nothing bad about asking somebody for specific numbers.
But the current strategy they're trying to do now is simply work with the doctors, improve the incentive structure to try to get them to make referrals, get them to communicate to you, get them to run the freaking test.
They want to make the doctors comfortable so that they're okay with the impact this is going to have on them financially.
So this is
the doctors have to be comfortable.
Yeah. And so what we've decided to do is to be true patient advocates, to bring information to people. You're going to see a big change on the website. Right now, our developers are going to be providing more information. They're going to be providing questions. These are the questions that the experts say you should answer. You should ask, right?
So that you're empowered, with the knowledge that you need.
Right.
So that you can take care of your health, because without your health, you have nothing. You have nothing, and we're in a system that is 100% broken.
There is an asymmetric relationship in the system in which the information knowledge is not with us. We're not aware.
There's a knowledge issue here.
You know, I got to tell this story. So I was on a call with a physician, and because I just couldn't believe this, right? So we were going back and forth. I won't call his name out. And I said, and we're going back and forth. So I said, hey, so you're telling me
he's not in this state. He's a physician. He's not in this state. We want to call with a group of physicians.
A group of physicians.
Not in this state.
All right. So one person I called out particular. Tiffany is qualifying it because that is true. But I called this one individual out. I said, so you're telling me that I have to have enough knowledge to call you out or call a physician out. And challenge
you better
challenge what he's telling me.
Aren't going to stand down.
And I said, you guys are arrogant right now and don't want to even answer basic questions. And I said, and I have an ego the size of Texas. So what are you going to do when someone like my mother asks you, hey, you know, my son or my daughter-in-law were telling me about blah, blah, blah. What do you think the average physician is going to say? Are they a physician, right? Because you guys right now are getting an attitude with me asking you basic questions. So the onus is on us, right? That's baked into the system, right? So I think if the onus is on us being patients, right? I think we need to build coalitions and demand certain things and ask certain questions, right? Since we don't have to be informed if we're in a stage of chronic kidney disease, right? We don't have to be informed of that. And since it's on us, especially if you have high blood pressure, diabetes, right? Since they can try different medications and not direct us toward the ones that actually work, that are going to have an impact on our community, on our own personal health and the communities that we serve, then someone's got to speak plainly to us in regards to this.
Yeah.
So we kind of
ought to be those some bodies, because you know what? I'll tell you something. The one thing that I've learned throughout the pandemic is that with Kevin and me, we've lost over 70 families and family members and friends during this time. So at what point does your soul start to cry? That's 70 people that we will never hear their voices again. So to sit here and act like a physician not being able to buy a new Maserati is a reason.
Oh my God!
Not to tell patients that they're in stage 1, because the drug that they would take would keep them from going into end-stage renal disease and affect the payday at the end for this guy. That's ridiculous.
But you can't help but arrive at that conclusion.
It's ridiculous.
When you start reading through the body of knowledge on nephrology and the economics of it, you can't help but come to that conclusion. But
my thing is, everybody can win.
Yes.
A patient can have good health. The doctor can have a patient with good health and still be profitable. This is a free market society. We shouldn't be pushing people down the road or just quietly watching people go down the road to
me,
poor health.
That's the part that just drives me crazy.
And saying, hey,
it is the quietly watching you as you progress toward this end, and not
as long as we're covered, it doesn't matter.
And that is but that's the conclusion that you have. That's the conclusion that you arrive at. There's no other conclusion you can arrive at other than that conclusion. And it's a very difficult conclusion to arrive at, because we're talking about people. We're talking about our own health. We're talking about people that we respect, that we care for, that for most of us, it's a family member, right? We feel we feel that our physicians are family members, and to say anything bad toward them or suggest anything.
To start looking into this and find out that not only are we looking at a situation where people know what's going on, but they're just watching it.
All right, so you've been listening to On the Record with Tiffany and Kevin on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, home of conservative talk radio.